Hello, Mr. Bees. Here are the questions we will be asking you. If there is questions you want me to ask or remove from the list, please let me know. Thanks for doing this for us. Please state your name and spell it.
My name is Claudette Bees, Claudette. Last name is Bees, just like a bumblebee. B as in boy, E-E-S.
Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Nassau, in the Bahamas, just off the east coast of Florida, and I went to school there, so I was basically raised there. However, I spent a lot of time in the United States as well. That's why I went to college.
Okay. Where did you go to school?
As I stated, being born in Nassau, I went to grade schools in Nassau, and then it's different in the Bahamas as it is in the United States. To go to high school, you actually have to take a test, and only certain people are allowed to go to high school in the Bahamas, and you have to have a certain percent of that test. So I was able to go to government high school, and after that, and high school in the Bahamas is actually 5 years as opposed to 4 years. And after that, if you want to, you can go to high school for 2 more years, which is exactly what I did. After that, I decided to work for a while before I actually came to the United States to go to college.
Okay. So how long have you lived in Iowa?
I've been in Iowa, I think I'm going on into my 8th, 9th year. Yeah, I've been here in Dubuque the entire time.
Can you talk about your family? Do you have family in Dubuque?
Yes, I do. The reason why I came to Dubuque is because a church here in Dubuque wanted my husband to be their pastor. And he needed to come, and as a supportive wife, I came along with him. We have 2 children. Our children are grown. My daughter Wanda is almost 30, and my son James is in his mid-20s.
What is your impression of Iowa?
Iowa as a whole, well, I've traveled around Iowa somewhat. It's a beautiful area. Sometimes they say that we have some, my entire impression is it's rather rural, different than Chicago. That's where I lived before I came here, a lot different than the Bahamas. So my impression of Iowa as a whole is it's a very nice place to raise children because it's quiet. There's not a lot of pressure, I don't think. Dubuque in particular, I think is a very beautiful place. It doesn't offer a lot of the things that I would personally like museums. We do have the River Museum now, and that's developing. But big plays, I love to shop. It's somewhat limited here. Dubuque is growing. I think in about 5 to 10 years it's going to be completely different than what we see right now.
What did you do for entertainment when you were young?
Oh, well, because I was born in the Bahamas, and those are groups of islands. Of course, we have the ocean, and so we would spend a lot of time around the ocean, in the sea. My parents didn't allow us to go all the time, so we spent a lot of time in the streets. We didn't have parks. We're just now, the Bahamas is somewhat developing, and so we didn't have parks, so a lot of our games were like in the street, like hoops. I don't know if, and when I say hoops, it's not what you think of hoops. You think of hoops as basketball, But we think of hoops as, you know, the rim from the bicycle, and then you had a stick, and then you would run in the street and hit the rim to make sure it kept going, and lots of hopscotch. Yeah, it's different, isn't it? Lots of hopscotch. For me personally, I played with my dolls a lot. I wanted to be a teacher from the time I was about 3 or 4. And so I spent a lot of time with my dolls, teaching them their times tables and teaching them how to add and stuff. And actually also, as I grew older, I still had a love affair with my dolls. And I would make clothes for my dolls. And that's how I learned to sew, just by watching other people sew, and then I made clothes for my dolls.
What professional experience and position have you held? Were you the first African American in that position?
In most places, yes, I was the first. When I came here to Dubuque, as I said, my husband came here to be a pastor, but I was also a professional. And at the same time he was offered the position at his church, I was offered a position at Hempstead High School as a math teacher. And I was the first African American teacher at that school, and of course the first math teacher, black math teacher in the department. So yes, that was a first. In the position that I hold right now, which is called Special Needs Facilitator, and come 1st of July it will be called the Principal of Central Alternative High School, I would be the first black principal that that school has ever had.
How has the civil rights movement affected you?
Well, it's interesting. I remember watching a lot of the civil rights movement because at the time I was still in the Bahamas. However, you know how most people go and shop before school opens? We would go over to Florida to shop, get our new clothes for school, and that's when I would experience civil rights. We had to stand at the counter, on a lunch counter, even though there was space there to sit. We were told we had to stand at a lunch counter. I saw water fountains that were designated black and white, washrooms designated black and white. And my mother didn't drive when we went to Florida, and so we did have to go to the back of a bus. So how has civil rights made a difference in my life? It's continuing to make a difference. I think we're mistaken if we think that we have complete rights. On paper, we may have complete rights, but I personally feel that until in our minds, and when I say our, black people and white people and other people of different races, until we have a real change in the way we think, we will always experience some civil quote-unquote rights. I'm not sure we totally have civil rights.
What was segregation like for you?
Well, just like I said, in the Bahamas we didn't have this problem. So I was used to black people being in power. In fact, my family members were politicians. They held high government office in the Bahamas. But the United States was different. And I think now, as we have a black president, and think about it, our black president is actually a mixed race president, and we all know that if you're mixed race, by the time you're 18, you are black. I don't care what your race is, you are defined as being black at that point.